My name is Raymond Vo, and this is Section 4 assignment, and I will be comparing grassroots civil activism and civil rights reformers. This is at the University of Houston fall semester for 2018 for the class of History of 1378. The professor is Nancy Young with my teacher assistant of Lindsay, Drane. So here you can see the question, and the question basically asks where we're comparing grassroots civil rights activism and civil rights reformers, as you can see in yellow. What that means is that the grassroots civil rights activism are people who feel so strong about a topic that they campaign to make a difference, versus the congressmen and the presidents and the politicians that actually allow the rules to be made. In this video, I will be comparing the motivating factors and the perspectives and the goals of each and every relationship that they have between each other. And lastly, I will give my opinion on who was more responsible for civil rights reform, which will be based on the sources that I have selected to explain my video of. So 3 relationships have been identified between grassroots activists and civil reformers. The first is teaching the young, the second is truly equals, and 3 is violent resolutions. More details will be gone into why they are named this way. So in our first relationship, we have teaching the young. Notice the 2 photos on the right, the above and the below. Both of the pictures show that they are extremely young kids, probably in their teens, and they're protesting and campaigning. With that many young activists, they are sure to have an effect. There are some motivating factors to why they are protesting in the first place, these young kids. First one is innocence. In the article, What I Tell My Child About Color, Black and White Fathers in Atlanta Try to Explain Race Relations to Their Sons, it states, Bill Jr. is now mine, and we are glad that he has acquired no hostile feelings toward whites. We realize that all his questions pertaining to race have not been asked, that there are many situations he has not encountered, and we hope that when we are asked additional questions, we can answer in such a way as to not destroy his confidence. This shows that the parents want to help the young kid have a better future with no negative ideas. As for pride, in the article, Our Nation is Moving Toward 2 Societies, One Black, One White, Separate and Unequal, excerpts from the Kerner Report. It stated, the typical rioter was a teenager or young adult, a lifelong resident of the city in which he rioted. A high school dropout, he was, nevertheless, somewhat better educated than his non-rioting Negro neighbor, and was usually underemployed and or employed in a menial job. He was proud of his race, extremely hostile to both whites and middle-class Negroes, and, although informed about politics, highly distrustful of the political system. Even though he was educated in politics, you can see that he learned to hate, not to learn to love. So that's why the parents in the previous article was trying to teach his young son to learn to love. This leads to both perspectives and the goals of teaching the young, as you can see right there. In our second relationship, we have if they are truly equals. The 2 photos here show segregation. The top photo involves the segregation with voting booths and discrimination, while the bottom shows a colored man entering a colored section of a movie theater. Some protests focused on voting. In the article, We Must Destroy the Capitalistic System Which Enslaves Us, Stokely Carmichael advocates Black Revolution. It stated, in June 1966, the national chairman of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, Stokely Carmichael, first voiced the slogan Black Power during a march in Mississippi. James Meredith initiated the march to protest white resistance in defiance of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 to black voter registration. The discrimination from voting became their motivation as well as their anger given from their perspectives. As for politicians, not many were on the same page. However, Lyndon B. Johnson, when speaking with Martin Luther King, were in an agreement. From the conversation between the two on November 25, 1963, Lyndon B. Johnson stated, But I'm going to ask the Congress Wednesday to just stay there until they pass them all. They won't do it, but we'll just keep them there next year until they do, and we just won't give up an inch. This shows that Lyndon B. Johnson wanted to help Dr. Martin Luther King as much as he can. If every politician was to support the civil rights movement, this would truly end the separate but equal ideology, allowing everyone to be equals. The third and last relationship is violent resolutions. The top photo shows a person demonstrating non-violent self-defense, but as you can see, it isn't working. While the bottom shows how African Americans have been beat and have faced devastating and fatal injuries regarding to the head in this photo particular. Initially, people protested peacefully, but in the article, "We Must Destroy the Capitalistic System Which Enslaves Us," Stokely Carmichael advocates black revolution. It stated, "But after 1 year, many of us decided that demonstrations were not the answer. The only answer was organizing our people. So we moved into the worst state, Mississippi, and began to organize our people to fight. And we're now at the front where we are encouraging people to pick up arms and fight back." That became their motivation. Violence also spreads news quickly. On August 4th, 1964, a conversation with Lyndon B. Johnson stated that Assistant Director of the FBI, Cartha D. DeLocke, called Johnson to notify him that the bodies had been found. That day, Johnson was also coping with racial disorders in New Jersey as well as the Gulf of Tonkin incident. With telephones, it allows news to spread very quickly, and in this particular situation, it is used to notify against 3 kidnapped activists that were killed. As a result of finding out, Lyndon B. Johnson was very concerned and stressed, and he vouched to notify the parents of those that were killed immediately. As you can see, violence is used on either side, each wanting equality through a different approach. So who won? Who was more effective? I believe it was the grassroots civil rights activists, because there is strength in numbers. With that many protesters, there's so much that they can do that a reformer, such as a congressman or a politician, can't do. It's just like a voting system. With that many protesting, that many are voting for what they want. And then here are my references, and thank you for watching.